basically means that we are not the ones who write the API. Somebody else wrote the API and they exposed an endpoint. Okay, so basically they opened a port for us to which their backend server will listen to and will respond. Now what we're going to do is we're going to fetch something from there. We're going to get some data from there and we'll show it in our React app. Okay, so that is today's class. And I just randomly took weather APIs. Okay, I just opened it. So free weather API, weatherapi.com. We'll see, like the thing is with third-party APIs, each and every one of them will have their own documentation. There is no other way to learn these other than looking at the documentation. Okay, so first of all, whenever you go to any API, if you want to use it, you'll probably need to log in or sign up. Even if you don't need to, it's good because the person who hosted it will get some help from you signing up. Okay, so he'll basically take your data and sell it or something, but it's a good gesture. So we'll just log in. We'll retype this here. Oh yeah. Rematch now. Okay. Sign up. Okay, so what did I do? I just signed up to that website. I hope all of you did too. Okay, if it's taking you a bit of time, it's fine because I'll anyways need to verify this. Okay, after verifying your email, you obviously log in. That is bad web design, but for now, we'll just log in. Okay. Okay, so let's open the shop design. Wait a second, it will take some time. So they gave me some free trial till 26th June 2024. Okay, that is good, I guess. It's not taking me to the weatherapi.com. So I'll just go from here. Okay, so see, each third-party API has its own documentation. There is no other way to learn that API unless you go through their own documentation. Okay, just make sure that you're going through the right documentation. Otherwise, you'll face a lot of trouble. Okay, so what is happening here? They're saying weatherapi.com provides access to free weather and geodata via JSON XML results. Okay, so far we've only done JSON because that is the most widely used way of transmitting data over the web. There are websites that send you text or maybe HTML and all of these, but JSON is by far the most popular one. So that is how we do it. And it allows developers to create desktop, web, and mobile applications using this data very easy. Okay, they have a spelling mistake, but okay. So what does it do? It gives us real-time weather, 14-day weather forecast, historical weather, and all of this. There's a ton of okay. So see, this is one important thing, which is there is something known as authentication, not authorization. Okay, what is the difference between authentication and authorization? Authorization is authentication is user authentication. Yes, that is authorization or authentication. Authentication, very good. So verifying that somebody is who he claims to be is authentication. Authorization is making sure whether the person that is accessing a resource has access to that resource or not. Like, does he have the necessary permission to access that resource? Okay. So API access to data is protected by an API key. Most of the time, when there is a third party API, they don't want random bots spamming their API calls because that will cost them a lot. Okay. That's why they have something known as an API key. This API key is generally tied to your account. Okay. So when you log in, you'll by default create a API key. And if at any time you want to find API key has become vulnerable, please regenerate. Okay. So yeah, they allow you to regenerate also. They just want to make sure that this request, API request, is coming from a person who has registered with my API. Okay. So this is how you pass your parameter. How do we pass this? All of this we'll see. Don't worry. Okay, look at this. They're asking us, how do you set your request URL? Request to weatherapi.com. API consists of base URL and API method. Okay. You can make both HTTP and HTTPS requests to our API. What is the difference between HTTP and HTTPS? HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol or Transmission Protocol, and HTTPS stands for HTTP Secure, which is basically a more secure way to transfer your data. Although that is not true, there is something like certification and all of that. But for now, we'll just stick to HTTP. We don't want to overcomplicate everything, right? Okay, now first of all, we'll do this in Postman so that we understand what all we need to give to this API. Okay, because Postman is much simpler compared to writing your own methods and all of that. We'll simply write it in Postman. I know my laptop is very slow. Please wait. Okay, so let's discard changes. Okay, so all of you will have something that looks like this. Hit on the plus button, and then what are we supposed to do? Request URL is this, current weather is this, all of this, right? So now, first of all, we'll copy the base URL. See, they're telling us the base URL is this. What is base URL? It means on top of this, you're going to add something else. What do we add? We'll see. Don't worry. Okay, so now on top of this, what will we add? If we want the current weather, then we'll use /current.json or /current.xml. Okay, so we'll just use this one. Okay, /current.json. I'm sorry, I can't really zoom in on this. You guys have to, yeah, you guys have to make do with this quality. Okay. So what are we doing? We created the URL that we want. How did we do that? We take the base URL and then we read some documentation and understand which API endpoint we're supposed to call. For example, if I want the current weather, I call /current.json on this. Okay. Or current.xml to get the XML data. What is XML? Extensible or extended markup language? I don't remember. But if you want the forecast, you call /forecast.json, history.json, marine.json, and all of these. Okay. So these are more specific to geolocation and all of these. We don't want all of that. We just want the current data of the weather. Okay. After that, there are request parameters. Okay. Now, if you guys remember, we pass data only through post requests, but there is a way to pass data through your get requests also. Okay. It's been a long time since we learned APIs, and I didn't tell you this because I thought it was too complex for you guys to understand, but now it's fine. Okay, if you go into Postman, open this, and in a get request, you get something known as key and value, right? So these are query parameters. What does that mean? Whenever you add anything here, it is not sent with the data of the body. It is sent with the URL itself. Okay, so your data will be sent on the URL. Let's see how that works. If I write something here, name is Shaukat. What is happening? my URL is still here only, but then I'm getting a question mark. In case you're unable to see, that is a question mark. And after that, whatever comes will be my query parameters or my key parameters or API parameters or request parameters, whatever you want to call them. Okay. After that, there will be key value pairs always, but there will not be a colon separating them. There will be a equal to. So I am saying name is equal to Shaukat. And if I add one more, let's just say PWR and something else, what is happening? Whenever we have more than one key value pair, they will be separated by the ampersand. Ampersand? What do they call this? It's end symbol, right? For now, we'll just call end symbol, okay? So it will always be a end symbol in between two key value pairs, and two key value pairs are always signified by using the equal to symbol, okay, like this, and they're always separated with end. If I remove from here, Postman should automatically remove it from there. Okay, so this is my base URL, and they're telling me I can pass request parameters. I need to pass these two. Okay, these two are required, and there will obviously be optional ones also, probably required only with forecast API method, restrict date output for forecast method. Okay, this is not. You guys can read up this documentation and use more complex things if you want, but I'll keep it as simple as possible. Okay, first of all, I need to get my key. Where do I get my key? We probably go to my account. I'm going to the same URL again, but just so you guys get a nice clear idea of what is happening, I'll keep the documentation in a separate tab and this in a separate tab. Okay, it's taking too long. Okay, so here I'm supposed to somehow get my API key. How do I get it? We just scroll down and we'll get it here. Okay. If I want to regenerate my key, I can. Then after the trial period ends, we'll automatically move to free plan. Okay, where is my API? Oh, sorry, it's here only. I didn't read. I'm sorry. Okay, so it's copied. Now what do I do? They told me to give. You see here, they told me to give request parameters. How do I give request parameters? I give them like this here. What do? We say key value is going to be my API key, and Q is going to be what? Query parameter based on which data is sent back. It could be the following. It can be longitude and latitude. There is something else. UK postcode, city name. Okay, let's try city name Paris. Okay, or all other things are like very complex. Let's just try city name Paris, or let's try IP address if you're interested. No, let's just keep it simple and call Q equal to Paris. Okay, or I'm not sure if they'll spell Visakhapatnam or Vizag, so I'm not using that. We'll just call Paris, and if I send, I should get my data. Let's see. See, I got my data. What did I get? I got location name Paris, region, country, all of this. The current date is, oh sorry, current weather is partly cloudy. And what else do we need? Yeah, that's it, right? So let's call this API from our React app. Okay, it's going to be fairly simple because it's just a GET request. Let's go to our React app, and we'll obviously write a new component, but yeah, we'll write a new component. Okay, weather is, and here I'll write the weather component, but I did not create it yet. I'll create it 1 minute. I'll import this from import weather from /weather, and now we are going to create that. How do we create it? It's very simple. We just create a file and we're going to write a function and all of that. Let's just wait. Okay. Now I'll open weather.js, close this so that you guys can see better. Okay, first of all, how do we write a React component? We import React from React. After this, we call a function. Array. Function weather, and I'll export it as default. This is already, we did this in the previous class, so I'm not really telling you anything. I'm just going through the process. Return something. Weather works. Let's see whether this works or not. Bad one, sorry. Start. So what did I do? I just imported weather from somewhere and just included that component here. And in that file, what did I do? I wrote a function that will return a JSX component. Oh shit, did I write properly? Yeah, I should probably wrap this in a H1, right? It just makes sense to wrap it in a H1 and all of that. And I'll also wrap this whole thing in a div. Control L is the shortcut to copy a line. If you like, Control L is to select a line, not copy. If you ever want to use, you can use it. Okay, so what happened? I'm just validating that everything works in my component and my component is rendering. Now, what am I supposed to get in my component? I'm supposed to get the external weather data. How do we get that? It's very simple. We'll just write loading weather for now, okay? Array. Let's remove this and write loading weather. But the thing is, what we'll do, we'll just keep a state variable here. We'll write end. Oh, sorry. Okay, let's not do that. That is very bad. Okay, we'll do one thing. We'll just cut this from here and okay, now let's get started. How do we write a component that shows the weather data? First of all, we need to get the weather data and store it somewhere, right? So for that, we'll create a variable for now. We'll create using const weather comma set weather equal to use state, and the initial value is going to be loading weather. Okay, so what am I doing? For weather, I am giving a initial value of loading weather, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to render weather in here. Okay, how do we do that? We write weather. Okay, so if you guys remember, if you just give x equal to 10 and write x in opening and closing brackets, curly brackets in H1, then we'll get that weather there, right? So let's see, loading weather is what we're getting. That is correct. That is what we want. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to write a use effect hook that will render how many times? We'll just make it render once for now. Okay, so if we give nothing here, it will keep running all the time whenever a component is reloaded. So what we'll do is we'll give an empty array here telling React that, okay, I want this to run only once But now what are we going to do next? We'll write fetch, and what are we going to fetch? We are going to fetch from that API, right? We're going to fetch from this API. If I just control C this, control V here, sorry, what is the first one supposed to be? First one is supposed to be a string of the URL. The next one is supposed to be options, right? In this options, what do? We write our method, content type, headers, and all of that. Method will obviously be get. Why? If you guys see here, you can basically get everything that you need to write your fetch function from here. You have your URL, you have your get, you have you don't have a body in this, so it's pretty easy. Let's store this in const API data equal to this, and we'll just alert, or we'll just console log API data. Now, if I go to my React website and look at my console, not terminal, we are getting some problem. What is that? It's saying in promise failed to execute fetch on window, argument required, but only 0 present. Okay, so there is something very, very wrong. Let me just zoom out. Okay, how do we call the fetch function? Does anybody remember? We actually don't need to specify this because fetch will by default go to get method automatically, if you remember from the class where we learned APIs. Okay, so in fetch, what do we do? Oh yeah, fetch is an await, right? So whenever you make an API call, it might take a lot of time. So we write await. I totally forgot, sorry. Await, and then this will be async. Okay, now maybe it will work. Let's see. Let's reload. Okay, what happened? Use effect must not return anything besides the function, which is used for cleanup. Okay, what is it returning? We're just logging something, right? What is happening? We have a function here which is being executed, and yeah, let's remove this and we'll do dot then dot catch. Okay. For data, and we'll just log that data. Dot catch error, and we're logging error. That's it. Good. So let's see. Okay, so now it is working. What did I do? I just basically told React that fetch is going to probably cause some problems, and I use dot then, which means fetch will be executed in an asynchronous manner, if you remember. What is that? Okay. Sorry, where was I? Okay, so I told JavaScript that fetch is going to be a asynchronous function, and I use dot then to specify that. And what does dot then do? Dot then will be executed whenever the previous function, whatever is before the dot, does not return an error and returns what is expected. It will run the dot then function, and within this there is something known as data, which is the parameter that we get from here. Basically, whenever you write a parameter in the dot then function, it will be the return of the first statement. Okay, so all of this will return as a JSON, if you remember from Postman. It's the same data that will be returned here, and then I'm doing dot then data. So this data will be the value that is being returned by this function, this fetch function, and then we are logging that data. If there is an error, we are logging that error. If there is no error, we are going to do one more thing, which is we are going to set whether to this value actually. Let's just go here and see. In this, what do I want? From this, I want the body first of all, dot body, and okay, dot body is a readable stream. We have a headache here, right? Set weather to, yeah. Let's see what will happen. Copilot asked me to do that, so I'm just doing it. Let's just set to data for now and see what will happen. Okay, what is happening? Okay, so what happened? We are getting a JSON return, but we are trying to assign it to a string type and trying to show it here. So that is the error that is happening. What is it saying? Objects are not valid as a React child, because your return function should always have what? It should always have strings or HTML. Basically, HTML always has strings. You can't show JSON object directly like that. So what do? You change it into string. How do you do that? Data dot, oh sorry, JSON dot stringify of data. Okay. So if you don't remember this function, please revisit the Java JSON videos and you'll find it. Okay. Set weather with JSON dot stringify. This now it should work. Let's see. Okay. So what are we getting? We are getting a empty JSON. Why? Let's see. We returned the data. That is good. So response is like cause, all of this is true. Status is 200. Everything is okay. We are getting data, but that data is not being set to this. So what we'll do is we'll go here and we'll say dot body. Let's see what we'll get now. It is saying something is locked. That is bad. Let's see. Not data.body. How do we access that this side? We get returns. Let's see where our returns are. Weather alerts. No, no. I call it wrong. Oh, okay. So we are supposed to wait for dot JSON. That is my bad. Sorry. Data dot JSON. Let's see what we got now. Okay, so pending promise, that is actually bad. So we'll have to await it instead of doing dot then in data. We'll just say we'll remove this and we'll say dot then. This is actually bad code, but now it's fine. We'll log console.log JSON data, and I'll take JSON data here. Let's see what we'll get. We are still waiting for it. So now we are getting the data properly. Okay, my bad, guys. I should have read this documentation better. What are we supposed to do? We are supposed to fetch and we are supposed to await response.json. I did not do this part. That's why we were getting so many errors. Okay, now what we are supposed to do is we are supposed to set this to that, and I'll tell you what is happening. Don't worry. JSON data dot current dot condition dot text. Okay, dot current dot condition dot text. Dot current dot condition dot text. Let's see what is happening. Okay, so our API call works. Now I will tell you what I did in the code step by step. Okay. So first of all, what did I do? I created a React component and then I made sure that it is rendering on the app.js. Just a simple test how. Just write some dummy data in the h1 tag and see if it is rendering or not. What did I write? I wrote loading weather. After that, I kind of saw into the future and thought, okay, when my API renders, what do I want to be shown by default to the user? Loading weather. Okay, so that is why we gave it as the starting value of our weather thing, so weather variable. Now, what is function weather doing? It is first of all declaring a state variable called weather using useState hook from React. And then what are we doing? We are saying we're just declaring a state variable. It is pretty simple. We are declaring weather and set weather equal to useState of loading weather, which is the initial value of the variable weather. And then we are calling a use effect hook that will only render once. I mean, only at the start, not once. It will render twice. That is how React works. Now, why does it render once? Because we gave a empty dependency array. If we do not give a dependency array, it will render multiple times continuously, or it will be called multiple times continuously. If we give any data here, it will be called only when that particular data changes, or any one of that particular data changes, it will be the same. Okay. So now this will only run once, and inside this, what am I doing? I simply wrote a fetch function call. I am fetching this particular URL, and in this URL, what am I doing? I'm saying dot then. That basically means fetch is a asynchronous function, and whenever this executes, then if nothing wrong happens, take that return value and do something else. Okay, what is that something else? We'll see. But if there is an error in the fetch function, this dot catch will be called. Okay, so if you guys don't remember what is dot then dot catch, please revisit the promises video. Okay, and if the data is successfully returned, then what are we doing? We are doing a nested then. Okay, so this is the nested then. What we are doing is we are saying data.json. Why do we need to call this? Because we are getting JSON data from the API that we are calling, and we are just trying to access it normally. That is why we got body as a data stream, and when I tried to access dot body, it was locked. That's why we use data.json in order to convert the incoming response into a JSON. And we are doing, if this .json works properly, and also data.json is a asynchronous function. How do I know that it's an asynchronous function? By reading this documentation. Okay, here I read it, and it says await response. So if you're calling await in front of something, it is a asynchronous function. If you don't remember why we use dot then dot catch and await and async, please watch that video again. It's like a long class. So after this, what we're doing is, if data.json is successful, then take the return of that. I'm just naming it JSON data. You can give whatever name you want there, and then console log it, and also set the variable weather to the stringified form. That is the JSON converted into string, and set that here. So what I'm doing is I'm accessing this particular value. If you see in Postman, I'll show it to you in Postman. I want to access this particular value. Okay, I just want the description of the weather. Now, how am I doing that? I'm supposed to go into the current first, and sorry, yeah, current. In current, I am supposed to go into condition, and in condition, I'm going into text, right? So first of all, I am accessing that through JSON. Okay, this part is JSON, and we cannot just simply write JavaScript object notation in HTML, right? So we are converting this whole JSON into a string by using JSON.stringify. That is actually unnecessary because .text is a string value, but for now, let that be like that, because in future, if you ever want to use, you can change that simply. And I'm setting weather to that string, and that weather will automatically re-render here. Why will weather re-render automatically when it is set? Because it is a state variable. We talked about this yesterday. Normal variables don't force React to re-render. state variables force React to re-render whenever one of them changes. Okay, that is why we use state variables in the first place. If you don't remember, watch the previous class and the class 2 days ago. Okay, so now this is working. Now we want to upgrade our website. So for example, if I give Visakhapatnam, will it work? Let's see. I think it might need to be a bigger city than Visakhapatnam in order for this to work, but we just give Delhi, okay, because that's the simplest thing. Let's send. What is it doing? So where is the condition? Okay, it is clear. Okay, the weather is clear. It is saying in Delhi. So we'll do the same here. We'll change this to Delhi. Now this will obviously work because we're just changing one thing. It should come clear. Let's wait. Okay, what is happening? Something is wrong. Okay, nothing is wrong. Weird. What is happening? JSON key and Delhi no access control allow origin. That is bad. Paris is working. Okay, Paris is working. Delhi is not working. Why? I don't know. Let's see. Copy paste this URL here because there might be some spelling mistake in the one I previously wrote. So let's go here, reload and see what will happen. Okay, I'm getting source error. So okay. Okay, let's just go with Paris then. I don't know why there is an error for only one of these. It's pretty weird actually. It works for Paris, but it doesn't work for others. Let's take some more examples from these guys. Let's take London, okay? Okay, maybe D needs to be capital. I don't know. So let's, no, not this. Yeah, instead of Paris, let's give London and see what will happen. Okay, London is also working, but Delhi is not working for some reason. I don't know why. But let's just keep it like that. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to give the user permission to specify this location. Okay. So this location will be given by the user. How do we do that? It's very simple. They are going to change this from useEffect to a normal JavaScript function, which the user will call. Okay. So we'll call get the weather. Okay. Get the weather. And this is going to be the function in which we'll write this whole thing. Okay, JavaScript functions need to be initialized with the word function first. So yeah. Okay, we'll remove this, or we can just give null if you want. Okay, just remove the double quote string. So that will basically make weather invisible to the user, although there is a H1 rendering weather. So now what we are going to do is we are going to create a button. And in this button, whenever the user clicks get weather, whenever the user on click, we'll call the function which is going to be get the weather. Okay. So now if I run this, what should happen? My weather should be, if I hit get weather, okay, why did it re-render? Give me a second. Okay, so it is working like when I click it twice. Wait, let me just reload it. I hit get weather. Okay, it's working. If I just hit it once, it is still working. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is we want to give the user permission to give us the city name. Okay, how do we do that? First of all, we need to take the city name as a parameter here. Okay, we'll just say, oh yeah, that is not possible, right? We'll set it. So yeah, I'll do one thing. What is that? I'll first of all create an input tag. Type is going to be text. And what am I going to give next? Yeah, for now we'll just give this and we'll give a label here. Enter the city name. This is also fine. And in app.js, I'll just remove this part because I don't want to do something. Shortcut get weather. Okay, okay. Okay, now in this, what I'm going to do, I won't pass that. I'll just keep it like that. Now I'm thinking how I'm supposed to send this city name here. How are we going to send that? I don't know. Let's see. We'll write ID equal to city name. And whenever the user is calling this, what we'll tell them is we'll say constant city name equal to document dot get element by ID and in this we are going to give the city name ID and we're going to say dot value. It's what Copilot recommended. It's fine, but I just made it constant instead of let, just so that we don't change it accidentally. Now what are we going to do? We are going to check if it is null or not. If city name equal to empty, just alert. Yeah, that is totally fine. Now how are we going to replace it in our string? Whenever we want to use a variable within our string, how do we do that? We use something known as a backtick, if you remember. And instead of London, I'm going to give $. And here I'm going to give the city name. Okay. Now what will happen? Whatever the city name here is, that will be substituted here. If you guys don't remember this, please revisit the previous classes. And this is how we access a input tag in HTML, right? So, sorry, in JavaScript, even if you write it with normal JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript, that is attached to a HTML file, it works similarly here also, if you guys remember. Okay, we go here and say, not Shaukat, I'll just remove that. I'm going to say London again. No, this time we'll say Paris and get weather. Yeah, see, it told me that the weather is partly cloudy in Paris. Let's try Delhi again. See, Delhi is clear. Okay, so D needed to be capital before. So fine, we'll say Kolkata and see what is happening. It's misty in Kolkata. Let's try Visakhapatnam. Okay, what is Vizag spelling? D needs to be capital and send. Apache light rain in area with thunder. Okay. Can anybody look up Visakhapatnam's weather data and tell me what is happening? Like on your phone, on your weather app, can you just look up and tell me how the weather is for today? Okay, I'm looking at it. Don't worry. It's saying cloudy, precipitation 5%, humidity 8%, and all of this. Wind 10 km/h, blah, 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 blah. Okay, So we did get something. Also, I want to render the temperature also somewhere so that we can understand what is happening. Okay, what am I going to do? I'll just render temp somewhere. No, I'll render temperature, and it's very simple. What are we going to do? We're just going to create a new temperature variable, set temperature, use state. It is by default empty. And after this, what are we going to do? In this data.json, we are going to set the temperature to something. What is that? We still don't know. We need to go here and check out how we need to get that temperature. Whenever we call the API, we are getting this return. In current, I want to get the temperature. Where is the temperature? Temperature in degree centigrade is temp underscore, oh sorry, underscore C. So we're just going to do that. JSON.stringify of, yes. So Copilot help me out. It's good. Okay, now if I reload and type again, Visakhapatnam, get weather, it's 32.9 degrees. It might be a degree that way, this way. It's fine. So this is how you call third-party APIs in your React app and use their data in order to show it in your website and all of that. So now I'll just give you a quick overview of what is happening in the code. What are we doing? We are calling a third-party API from our React app. Okay. Let's quickly go over what is happening and all of that. We have a function called weather that is returning a React component somewhere down below. And we have two state variables that are by default null. One of them is weather, other is temperature, and we're just naming the set methods also for that state. And then we have a function called get the weather. What does this do? This will call an API. Okay, this will first of all get our city name from the user through the input field. Okay, this, and then if city name is equal to null, that is empty string, it won't be null, it will always be an empty string because input by default will be a empty string. And if it is an empty string, we are alerting and no longer continuing in this function by writing the return statement. Okay, so that will work. And after that, we have a fetch function call here that will substitute the city name for the city name given by the user. And if this will work, then we are taking the return from that API, the response from that API, and doing .json on that. And if this .json will also work, then we are taking that JSON data, logging it, setting weather to the appropriate key, setting temperature to the appropriate key value, and we are closing it. If there is any error, we are going to catch that error and log it out, okay, in our console, obviously. So after that, we are just writing the return statement where we have one h1, one input tag, and one button. And whenever the user will click on this, he'll call the get the weather function by default, and we are getting the weather and temperature like this. Because weather and temperature are state variables, React will forcibly re-render this component by default. So yeah, whenever weather and temperature are updated, you'll see it here. And export default weather is just React syntax if you guys don't remember. Okay, so you guys can try later on. And yeah, let me run this first. Okay, this is not an assignment, just like a fun task to do. What are you going to do? You're going to show some more things here, some more data values here. I want you to show humidity and no, let's do one more thing. I'll tell you something else. Okay. I want you to call the okay, I want you to call the forecast API. Okay, this is not a assignment, this is just a task for fun. Call the forecast API and see what all data you get and show the weather statement or temperature. So just to learn how APIs are working and all of that. Okay, so does anybody have any doubts in how we created this? or how we are calling this and all of that? Okay, so if nobody has any other doubts, that's it for today. Okay, so what did we learn in today's class? We learned how to call an API from React, how to show the data in your API, how to first of all call an external API, what is API key, why do we need API keys, and that's it. That's pretty much. Okay, any other doubts? Oh, there is some doubt. 31 degrees cloudy. Okay, thank you, Keshav. Okay, so if others don't have any doubts, you can leave the class. Thank you.